Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Nico, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, man. Still celebrating that win, the whole Canada versus US game here that happened this week, of course, in the Four Nations tournament. Still riding off the high about that. Canada's still the best at hockey. There you go. It's official.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot better than an All-Star game. I'll say that much.
It was awesome, man. Like I mean, leading up to it, I was watching all the games. It was a really cool thing that they put together. And like they were saying this past week, like it's the players that kind of really pushed to have this happen too, and like kind of work amongst them, and that were really interested in doing this. And like you said, it in the same sense, like an all-star game, you got to see like a lot of big names playing together, but it
Yeah,
was
they're always floating there. Here, like they're putting it out all in the line there. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
big up to them for that.
This was an interesting time, I think, for all this to have gone down, and it meant a lot to these players to be playing in this game and represent their countries, right? So it was really cool in that sense to see that happen.
A little
Uh,
controversy with Wayne Gretzky, though, eh?
well, I didn't hear about that. What's that all about?
I suppose that when he came out, he was the honorary captain of the Team
Right,
Canada,
right,
but he
right.
came out of the American bench, and he gives a thumbs up to the Americans. And from what I understand, he didn't even look over the Canadian guys. He wasn't wearing the Canadian jersey; he just had his suit on.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Oh, that's interesting. I did see that they announced
Some
him.
backlash.
Yeah, I did. I did see that they announced him as you got to see Gretzky show up there in the game. But oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, he's more aligned with the States these days, anyways, honestly. But very cool, very cool. So yeah, if you guys are hockey fans out there, we hope you guys caught that as well. But of course, we're here to talk about the comics. Here to talk about the comics, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. If you want to hear some more comics talk, you can check out our playlist here. And we're me and Chris, we've done, like I said, this is episode 167. So we've done tons of these episodes. You can go back and check them out in our playlist. And you can always come back and check us out on our weekly reviews, week to week here on Comic Shop Talk. We also have our new comic book solicitations video, which we keep separate from these ones. That should also be along in the feed after this episode goes up as well. You guys can check that out. I think we're going to be reviewing, is it May? Is it May's new comics? So
Yeah,
this
May
yeah.
solicitation.
So make sure to check that out, guys. That's its own video now. If you recall, if you ever seen these episodes and we talk sometimes about solicits at the end, that's its own video now. So go make sure and check that out. Me and Chris will be talking about the May comic book solicitations. That'll be in the feed right after this episode. This week, we're going to be talking about new comics that came out for the month of February 19th, 2025. And as always, spoiler warning, be forewarned. We are going to be talking about what happens to the books, showing off the art. So if you're worried about getting spoiled, you can always read your books and come back. All right, Chris.
All right, well, let's talk comics.
Talk some comics. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll add is seltzer in the fridge here today, so that's what I'll be drinking. Went to a winter beer festival actually yesterday, so I had my fair share of beers there yesterday over at the Steam Whistle Brewery there, Chris. That was a lot of fun. So, all right. First up on the docket here today, we got Zatanna #1. I got the foil cover here. You can see that.
Sorry, the Sokomaki.
Yeah, and then I guess I'll show off. You'll see the regular cover up here on the screen here in a moment. Yeah, there's the regular cover there. What'd you think of this, Chris?
Well, I should be getting that Sozumaki too. I'm not sure if I got the foil, but we'll see. But as for the comic itself, those covers, they get me every time. And I love Zatanna whenever she's part of like the crisis events or if she's part of any sort of DC event that's going on. But just lately in her own comics, I want to see her fighting or I want to see her up against some villains or something. It's always some magic stuff. I guess she's the magician, but come on, he could have had a slow burn on this lady in the mirror story and maybe just had her fight somebody for a change and just see what's going on. So, well, I didn't have the greatest feelings after reading this.
Yeah, so this is written and drawn by Jamal Campbell, who I guess we're more used to seeing more recently. He was the artist on Joshua Williamson's Superman for some time prior to, I guess, Dan Mora joining on as the artist for that book. And as always, his art looked great. I'm not used to him, I guess, writing his own thing, and I don't know if this would have been a good fit for him going into it as a result of not being as familiar with his writing. And I don't know if Zatanna is a character he really likes, or maybe this was like one of those things where they wanted the book to look really good, like a good artist on it, and he was kind of like, let me write this one, or you know what I mean, like just like a tryout gig in that regard. I think he's written other stuff, but I don't know if he's written stuff for DC, but I might be wrong on that. That being said, it was a great looking book. I thought Jamal Campbell's art looked really great here. Like you said, good covers. I felt that this story, though, so far is not as interesting as I had hoped it to be, like you had just mentioned. I was a big fan of the last Zatanna miniseries that came out, though, out of the two of us. I know I really liked that one. I thought that one actually was a lot of fun, that miniseries that they came out, like, I think it was a DC Black Label miniseries that they came out with one.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was called. Now that we're talking about it, but it just ended like a few months ago. I quite like that a lot. The start of this one, I don't know if I'm as interested in this. Basically, they're talking about, yeah, like, she's a magician and she has like got a crew of people that work with her, I guess, when she does her magic shows. And the place that they're doing the shows in here, I guess, has like the spirits of like this person that I guess did magic there previously. And now she's coming back, and I guess now she's taking some of her crew and they've been taking into like another magical world of some sort. And maybe she doesn't like the fact that, they're using her place there, this Lady White or whatever. Yeah. So like, I don't know. As a story, it's fine. I mean, that's pretty much what you got out of this, right? Like she was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
guess there's a twist there. I think one of her crew members kind of stabs her in the back, literally and figuratively, I guess. And
yes, that's where we
but
ended.
you don't even know who these people are, so it's not like some big,
No,
plot twist or reveal.
right. What do you think of the excessive use of the backwards writing in this? There was quite a lot.
Hated.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's part of the character. Maybe we shouldn't be complaining about that in a Zatanna book, a series. I just think there's a way of doing it where there's not so much of it. This had like pages full of it, like especially in the moments where she got dropped into that. Like it seemed like they were going through posters of different movies and shows, and there was stuff that
Yeah,
that had occurred here in this in the place that they're doing their magic shows. And as a result, like she's working her way through all these this dimensions or whatever stuff that they're kind of bouncing through. And there was like pages of just the backwards talk, the Zatanna magic
yeah.
talk, right? And you get to a full page of that, and I got to tell you, it's
Headache.
it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult
Especially
to
when she doesn't even say anything like, "Oh, safely return to your, to the stage." I'm freaking trying to read return backwards, and I freaking, uh,
it's
it didn't help.
like, I get it's a trope, but it's like use it sparingly, in my opinion. Like, I think having like pages full of dialogue and that's what's going on, like Chris said, yeah, that didn't help either. I actually found it quite annoying a couple times while reading
Yeah,
it.
maybe they can save him for like the bigger spells when she's trying to attack someone, not when she's just trying to send someone back home through a portal.
Yeah, so I think this is not long for my pull list, honestly. I think I have the next one pre-ordered as well, again because of the cover, but after that I'm probably gonna not end up reading this or picking it up. We'll see though. I mean, if they keep coming with the covers, this might just be one of those books I pick up for the covers. Maybe we'll just
Yeah,
stop talking about it here on the show. I mean, I like the character a lot. Like Chris, like you said too. I want to like her, and I like seeing her show up. But sometimes it's some of these characters, they're not interesting enough to sustain an ongoing series, if that makes any sense, or they just really need a good story to be told
yeah.
about them. What'd you give this?
Let's give it a 3.5.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's all.
it's a
It's all
good
art
looking book.
too.
Yeah, 3.5. I agree with you. I would give it maybe 3.25 if not, but 3.5 out of 5. Great looking book though, I will say that. Yeah. All right, next up we got Weapon X-Men #1.
It's Joe Casey's Weapon X Men that his title got stolen from him for that lousy Weapon X Men first go around. And this one here, I guess Cable's putting together a team, and Deadpool, I guess he floats around or kind of just tags along on this team. And then he stabs Logan in the back again. Like, isn't this just happening right now in Deadpool and Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yes.
They've got to time these stories together or separate them. It's almost just another, I don't want to say a carbon copy of the story, but I just saw that, last month or last week.
Yeah.
I don't even see it again. How many times is Deadpool going to stab Logan in the back and he's going to keep on taking it? Like, wouldn't he just freaking just, at least put the guy on blast or something, or just stop returning his calls? But otherwise, I don't mind the story. It's okay. The art's good. I'm sort of interested in all these people. I don't think I'm buying it though, but I'll continue reading it.
I read this too. I remember you had mentioned it last week. It's something you were probably going to check out. We did read the miniseries, as Chris mentioned. Wasn't a big fan of the miniseries so much so I wasn't really considering maybe even checking this out initially. But I was like, okay, I'll check it out, and I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was good. I mean, like, you make a good point. I did also think that way about how the fact that there is another Wolverine Deadpool miniseries going on right now that has similar kind of stuff going on with these two characters in that sense about him, backstabbing him. But I think it worked well in the context of this story. I actually prefer so far even just one issue in this story as opposed to the other one that's happening in Wolverine and Deadpool, the Benjamin Percy one that's going on. I like the other characters in this story. Like, I like that Cable's in this. I thought this was very humorous. I think Joe Casey did a great job of writing Deadpool, the fourth wall breaking stuff. They even made reference to the fact that there is a lot of series and stuff going on right now with them. And maybe, why is that? Because obviously there's that movie and like things, there's like jokes like that were going on in this. But I think they played to their strengths here. And Chambers in this, which is pretty cool to see him. I dug this. I thought this was a lot of fun. I think it was nice to see like all these like more like X-Force kind of like type characters, or like more, the characters like you would expect in a book like this, kind of like this Weapon X-Men. The whole fact that they made up the name for themselves as a team there, just because they randomly were thrown together. I dug it, man. It was actually a lot of fun. I would consider, if this continues to be good, picking up the trade, because this isn't something I picked up either. But if you didn't like the Weapon X-Men miniseries, I don't think that's going to be an issue here. This is
No,
not
it has nothing to do with the Weapon
no,
X-Men series.
no. They just took the same name and applied it to this book because, like they said in it, like they needed to come up with a team name of sorts, right? So, anyways, I dug it. Yeah, unexpected surprise this week. Honestly, for me, it was quite good.
I like the sort of the One World Under Doom tie-in. It's not heavy into it, but I think, aren't they stopping around just outside Latveria or something here?
Yeah, yeah. They mentioned that. And so they mentioned stuff that is currently going on in the world right now, right? So it didn't feel so far removed, despite that its own story being told here. But yeah, I dug it, man. It was a good time, and the art was good. So yeah, I don't know if this is supposed to be a mini series or an ongoing series, but so far so good. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Baron von Strucker showed up at the end. That's right. He's the guy who's working with Deadpool that actually hired him to interfere in this thing with Wolverine in the first place. That's the big reveal, I guess, at the end.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give it much higher. I quite like this. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 this week. It was good. Next up, we got Thunderbolts Doomstrike #1, which is the first of the mini series. A couple came out this week. First that we're going to be talking about here of these like One World Under Doom mini series that they're doing. And this is Kelly and Lansing that did the last Thunderbolts mini series. Actually, they worked on, which I remember talking about on the show here. And I quite enjoyed that. I actually just picked up the trade recently. I thought it was a underrated book, that first miniseries. It obviously they were trying to align it with the upcoming Thunderbolts movie, but then I feel like the movie got shifted into the schedule into this year, and was supposed to come out last year originally. So the miniseries, the one that they wrote, had like Bucky and stuff on the team, and it just really bad timing as a result of the movie not actually being out at that time. It felt like that's the vibe they were going for, which I think that comes out in April, I think, or something. I think the new with
Yeah.
Thunderbolts movie. Yeah. What'd you think? Right. What'd you think of this, Chris?
I did like it as a tie-in. Like, Doom's very heavily involved in this story. I think Doom is approaching, I guess, the Winter Soldier. What do they call him? The Revolution? Is that his new name here?
I forgot. It's something dumb, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
something like that. And I guess it calls back to, I guess, one of the previous series where I guess the Winter Soldier tricks, maybe doesn't trick, but he gets Doctor Doom, I guess, to kill the Red Skull or something.
right, which he's
And
already talked about in One World Under Doom, right?
yeah,
Like how that's affected. Like he used that as an advantage to make himself look good because he's like, oh, I killed a Nazi. Yeah, big deal. Right? Which it is. That is a result of the last issue of that last miniseries. So it's interesting that that played such a big part in this. This is the trade here for anybody that cares to check this one out. It was called World Strike. So yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So I guess Doom is trying to recruit Bucky there to be the head of his secret police, and it seems that Bucky's considering it or whatever. James Buchanan, whatever they call him here, the Revolution. He gets 7 days to consider it, and he kind of talks to his team, and it seems like that Thunderbolts team is pretty much broken up. It's just him and the Black Widow, and I guess someone else. I don't know who that other character was, the one that took him out to space.
Oh,
So he thinks he's
Contessa.
gonna, yeah, I think he's gonna pull a fast one on Doom, but no dice. Doom is all powerful and all knowing. He sees right through Bucky's plans and kind of says, "Sorry, Bucky, too bad for you. You should have accepted it." And then oh yeah, doesn't he? Don't they blow up a city here? Yeah, Doom. He launches a nuclear missile from space, and he blows up a small town or something like that. I thought that's high stakes, so I'll see it. See, I'm just interested to see where this goes.
It's kind of interesting how Doom keeps like setting these guys up for failure to look like the bad guys here, right? So it's I love how this played into. I didn't think at the end of that Thunderbolts miniseries that one of the story beats, like about the whole thing with the Red Skull, would play into this event the way it is. But as a result, this is actually, I think, one of the more important. I know this is like still early to say this, but I think this is one of the tie-ins that's worth checking out just because of that, honestly, because there is some big stakes happening here, and it looks like I mean, I love Bucky. I don't know how the hell they're gonna get out of this situation.
I don't know either.
So yeah, it's good stuff. I honestly, and even if you're interested in this mini series, I would suggest going back and checking out the last one. It's only 4 issues, and at the end of it, that is what happens. So I guess spoiler in that regard, but it's playing a big part in this whole One World Under Doom. Yeah, Shelbyville, which is Bucky's, I guess, where he's from. That's where he destroys essentially. So he looks like a traitor to his own like old town there too, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I think coming out of Captain America, they made him look like he was a bad guy. He was playing both sides of the fence. And now it's like he's one of these ambiguous characters where they're like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? No one really knows, right? But Contessa, what's her name? LaFontaine or whatever, DeFontaine, she was part of the last Thunderbolts team too, but it was not her, it was like a
Yeah,
robot.
like model decoy.
So in this one, at the end of this issue, the real character has shown up and she destroyed the life model decoy. So like, it's interesting now. I guess we'll see how that plays out, but I guess she wasn't so happy about the fact that there was an LMD being, running around acting like her that was part of this Thunderbolts team, right? So it's not really much of a team right now, so to speak. But yeah, good stuff. I like this issue a lot. This was actually a pleasant surprise coming out of this Doom shit. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.75. I like how Doom is still revealed to be a bad guy. In the One World Under Doom. He thought, oh, he might just be trying to play off that he's a good character or that he's just trying to save the world. But bombing a small town just because that's not really a good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I give this a 4 out of 5. I quite liked this, and I'm gonna probably be reading the rest of it. And if it's good, I'll probably pick up the trade because I got the other Thunderbolts trade already. I like the Thunderbolts as a team, honestly. No matter what and this is definitely different than other variations of the Thunderbolts, I would say. So it's good stuff. Next up, I got Doom Academy #1, which is another One World Under Doom tie-in that came out this week. I think this is just like these another mini series as well. So Strange Academy, I was a big fan of that. I like Doctor Strange. I kind of liked the characters that they built up in that book. It felt like a Harry Potter, like Hogwarts type of book for sure. Like it's all these young students learning magic. Basically, this is just very simple. This is now the Doom just taking over the academy, and since he has also got magic, as well, he's known for his magic. He's taking over, and I guess the big difference is, now they're like under his rule essentially in Latveria, like and they're meeting people in this book so far that are from Latveria. And for instance, they meet a student in this book that's the son of somebody who basically plagiarized, like he basically makes up all these lies for Latveria. Like he's the person that puts out all the fake news essentially in the media of Latveria that prop up Doom and make it seem like anything bad that he's done is actually, and let me put a spin on this and make it look like this is a good thing that he did, or he wasn't responsible for this. It was Reed Richards, like shit like this. So it's kind of interesting that they meet a student like that here in the school, and he makes it clear to the kids that he meets in this book that we know from like the Strange Academy stuff that I'm not like my father, though. I want to write about the truth. And that's why, when I'm here to kind of like, like if he's trying to start like a school paper essentially for Doom Academy in this title, and he makes it known that he's not his father, and like I actually want to reveal the stuff that he's saying that to be a lie, as opposed to so like people here know what's really going on. So it's kind of a weird idea, but I kind of dug it. As a new student that you're introduced to for the first time in this book, it did make me. I was like, oh, okay, that character is kind of interesting. That being said, it did feel kind of hokey at times. This book, it definitely felt more like a Harry Potter Hogwarts type of a thing in this book, but unfortunately, it just felt more like for a young adult audience. And I know that's what he was going for in Strange Academy, but for whatever reason, I felt like the stakes were a little bit bigger in that book. Other than the fact that they're in Latveria here, it seems that like it's a little watered down compared to the Strange Academy title, which Scotty Young had done. It wasn't bad though. I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5. I don't know if I'm going to continue with it. Yeah, this kid, my dad is the editor. That was his name. That's right. The editor of Latveria. That's like what he's known as. So I thought that thing was interesting. I did like that part of the story. So I might check out the second issue. We'll see. Then next up, Chris, we got Aliens versus Avengers #3 this week.
Oof. This was a good comic again. I've been enjoying this Alien versus Avengers. And I guess in the last issue they escaped the planet, and I guess now they're floating out to go to Mars to see what the mutants are up to. And things are awry right from the beginning. There's nobody around. They can't get a hold of anybody on the planet. Why they? I guess they're forced to land on the planet because they sustained some damage when they're taking off from Earth. And they land on it's Mars that they go to, or Morocco, or whatever they want to call it there. And somehow Sinister's got he's got these aliens sort of under his thumb, or he's somehow found a way to work with them. And just what happens on this planet here, you find out who's alive. They're just throwing in new characters that you want to see, and you're happy to see that they're there. It's good stuff still. I wish this was a bit of a longer series. I think, is this only 4 or?
Originally, they only solicited it for 4 issues, which means the next issue should be the last one. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe they're going to do more. We'll see. But
Yeah, we'll see. But it looks like they're in dire straits. I think their ship blew up, and I think everybody pretty much is dead except for, is it just Captain Marvel that's alive, or who went to the
Miles is alive.
mile?
What's his name? Tony's alive. He was at this in this. Then what? Mr. Sinister shows up. Hulk they left behind. If you don't, if you remember at the
Yeah,
end.
all Captain America they left behind.
Yeah, this is just Tony, Captain Marvel, and Miles at the start of this, essentially. Yeah, out of
Yeah, and they took off, and then I think they blew up their ship.
Yeah,
And they run into what, Wolverine and a couple other mutants,
yeah.
and that's good stuff.
Yeah, I think using Sinister, honestly, once again, like Hickman is showing that he has a like this is a good combination of these two properties, and using somebody that like Sinister, who's known for doing this weird experimentation stuff with mutants and things like that, embracing the fact that he's going to use the aliens for something, using it, making a gun that shoots the aliens essentially for all the Sinisters. It's just really smart, honestly. Like I think it's a perfect balance of using something from the Alien universe and using something from the Marvel universe and just combining them into this story that's just been fantastic throughout. I will say this, and I don't mean this in any bad way, because I think this is going to rank high on my, my favorites this week still, regardless. This is maybe my least favorite out of the 3 issues, though. Like I'm just trying to put it as if I'm comparing all of them, I would say this maybe is my least favorite, but that's because like out the gate, those first 2 issues were
Yeah.
so good, and this is still really good. I think when it's all said and done, if you guys missed out on this series, definitely go pick up the collection of this, because I can't see him going wrong with one more issue to go in this series. Honestly, it's just been great every issue. But yeah, I don't know how this is going to end, Chris, with if it is one more issue to go. I don't, it doesn't look good for the humans. I'll say that. The heroes.
Not many very left. I think there's 6 people left now.
So, especially now that there's
More mutants.
they've overrun the planet with the aliens here. Oh, yeah. Emma showed up in this. That's right. Emma shows up. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was pretty cool. But Captain Marvel, her whole face is messed up here. And yeah, it's not looking good for them. Oh, yeah. And what's his name? The mutant that can travel. Wolverine shows up. Yeah, there's a few of them at the end here that do show up. But what's his name? The guy, the mutant that travels, they can teleport and stuff like
The
that.
manifold or
Manifold. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I forgot his name there. Of course, Wolverine was going to show up, though. I knew that. I'm like, this guy survives everything. I'm like, of course he's there, right? So that was kind of neat to see him. But yeah, great stuff. Great series. Yeah, poor Tony.
He's getting from all sides in this universe, the ultimate universe.
I think that's what you need to do with that character, though. I think because he doesn't have superpowers, you always have to have that person that you know what I mean? Like it's like almost like Batman in that sense. You need to show like the weakness of man sometimes. Like there's only so much that he can do. Like, I like the fact that he's an old ass man and his chair turned into the
got one guy in a wheelchair. That's no wheelchair. It's a suit.
See, but yeah, even as I said that, like the more we talk about this book this week, I'm like, oh, this is so good. Like,
Good stuff.
Yeah. What'd you give this?
I'm giving 4.25.
Same. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, I hope you feel the same. Ultimate Wolverine #2 this week. What'd you think, Chris?
I thought it's okay. I'm still on the fence about this whole Wolverine story, but as a comic by itself, you can't go wrong. You have Wolverine or the not Cyclops. What's his face? Colossus and Magic. I guess they're not too. They're not really on board with Wolverine. I guess he dreams or something when he's sort of on his downtime, and I guess they put together a little test for him, and they put Wolverine up against, I guess, their top soldiers, and it's just a bloodbath between them, or a battle out in the field, and Wolverine's not holding back here. This should be stuff that's in his Wolverine comic, in the regular comic, and it just he's coming back with the bag of heads. Oh, you can't go wrong with that, and there seems to be some sort of power struggle, I guess, between, I don't want to say Department H, but whoever's controlling Wolverine and Magic and Colossus. So there seems to be I guess some cracks in the foundation of their mutant hold over Eurasia there. So that's just good stuff.
I think this artist is great. The Alessandro Capuccio, who I think was the artist for the Moon Knight series with Jed McKay when he was doing that previously. He's really good. And I think like this comic is a good example of a comic that there's not too much going on with the story so far, 2 issues in, but they make really good use of the action in this book. Like you get so many great scenes of him just like you said, attacking soldiers up from the trees, like in the wilderness here. and just seeing him kind of throw down with these guys as they're telling the story in the background of how he came to be, like who this guy is, the relationships between like the Russians and stuff going on with the Maker and everything else that's going on here. And it's just like I feel like there's not as much going on so far in this book, but they give us such great action scenes and really build tension. I think like with this character being like this Winter Soldier-esque guy, always being in the shadows. Like I really dig the way they show all this in this book. Like it makes a hell of a difference. And like you said, there wasn't much going on in the Wolverine title either, but they just make so much better use of him as a character in this book as opposed to like the ongoing series that we've seen so far, where they are trying to build up a big story, which isn't working for us. You know what I mean? Like it's just not that all that interesting so far. So,
I know he's going to turn good soon, or he's going to turn on them sooner or later.
yes,
Especially when they show Colossus freaking just beating him down and stuff like that. So you want to see him, not become a good guy, but at least turn on his masters and give them a beaten down. Hopefully it's not too soon, but hopefully they don't beat him up too much before he does turn. But looking forward to more.
What'd you give this one?
Yeah, easy 4.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 4.25. It was really good. Really like this issue, even more than the first issue. Actually, I like this issue.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple here that I read this week. This new one, Let This One Be a Devil, #1, which is a new book from Dark Horse that James Tynion had co-written. Didn't really hear anything about this book prior to. Steve Fox co-wrote this with him as well, who, he's been writing some X-Men books over at Marvel. I think he's the guy who did like Dead X-Men and stuff like that. And I guess this is maybe part of a new line of horror books from him over at Dark Horse, James Tynion, because it says a true weird story at the top. And then I know he was doing those Blue Book comics that were kind of like based off of stuff that were like that, like Roswell and stuff like that. So maybe this is in the same line of that kind of stuff where he's taking like, stuff like from real life, like stories that people, because this was almost like the New Jersey Devil, essentially, I felt like. But anyways, Peter Kowalski is the artist on this, who of course we just saw last week on the miniseries Where Monsters Lie. There, the book with Kyle Starks, and it was this first issue is basically just showing somebody back in the 1900s. They came across this devil-like creature on their property that was eating its animals. Jersey is mentioned in this book, so I'm pretty sure this is like them talking about the New Jersey Devil, and or maybe the reports of it being around maybe back in the early 1900s. I don't know. And maybe they're going to jump to the future because it shows this whole devil thing happen here. And if it's not New Jersey Devil, maybe I'm just like kind of off base with that one, because I thought Jersey was mentioned at some point of this book, but it's not like they said, hey, this is the New Jersey Devil. This is just a devil, essentially. So he sees this creature, shoots at it, flies off, and then, they kind of show the fact that they don't know what the hell this is, and it's eating their animals, and they're worried about going into the woods now, and they don't know what's going on. And then you hear like the rumors start to spread about this thing in the woods, and then it flashes back to like the 1700s, and it shows in the 1700s this woman's about to give birth. And for whatever reason, she yells out, "Let this one be a devil," as she's giving birth to this hard birth that she's having. Like it almost looks like she's gonna die during giving birth to this thing. And then it comes out, and it, like, before the very eyes of the person that's holding this baby, it transforms basically into this devil creature with like a tail and everything else, and they start freaking out. Yeah, 1735. And that's pretty much what you got out of this first issue. So I mean, if you're into this kind of stuff, like old folklore type stuff or things with devils, and it's obviously James Tynion always likes to deal with like some sort of horror elements in his book, then I guess we'll see where this goes. As a first issue, I thought it was all right. I give this 3.5 out of 5, but I kind of needed a little bit more, let's say, to kind of get an idea of where we're going with this story. So stay tuned. I'll see if I check out the next one. It wasn't bad. Next up, they got The Question All Along the Watchtower, #4. In this one, basically everything is revealed. I mean, we kind of got an idea of what was happening last issue. But it's revealed in this one that, yes, because he was put in the Phantom Zone, what's his name here? what's this guy's name again?
What, Cyborg Superman?
Yeah, so Cyborg Superman, he was, I guess, in the Phantom Zone. And I don't know if you recall, even in Justice League Unlimited, that book, when they're talking about the new Watchtower and everything like that, they were utilizing the Phantom Zone as a prison essentially for guys that they catch. So because the Watchtower was connected to the Phantom Zone, he was able to manipulate his way out of the Phantom Zone and onto the Watchtower. And the reason why all this weird stuff is happening to the people of the Watchtower, the real reason that the question was on this case to begin with, is his doing from the Phantom Zone. And then he used that as a way to get out of the Phantom Zone. And now he's basically just wreaking havoc on the JLA Watchtower. And that's why certain people's minds aren't working right. Things are happening. He's got all these other bad guys that are Superman villains that were in the Phantom Zone, basically helping him in this issue now. And basically, Renee Montoya, the question, is trying to stop this from happening and going any further on the Watchtower, because there's all kinds of people that are affected by it. And she feels like a failure of sorts because she wasn't able to catch on to this sooner. But like, what a stupid idea for them to connect the thing to like the Phantom Zone to begin with, because like at first it seems like that's a smart idea, but then when you really lay it all out in this issue, I'm just like, yeah, that's stupid, and you guys really should have saw that coming, and no wonder this is what's going on right now. So I just, it almost kind of made it like, I don't know if that was like a Mark Waid idea, but it was like, I'm sure that they set it up for the fact for them to do this miniseries as well. I hope. I don't know if this is him just like getting the idea that Wade set up in the Justice League and being like, you know what, that's kind of dumb. I'm going to utilize that for my story over here. But I liked it. I dug it. I was like, oh, that's very interesting, actually. I thought it was a good reveal that I didn't see coming. And I think this is an overall pretty enjoyable miniseries. If you like any of the new Justice League spinoff books, this for me, I think is probably the strongest one. I mean, they mentioned what's going on in Challengers in this. I know New Gods is also part of that whole thing. I feel like of the all-in stuff. This is the only title I feel like out of those initial announcements that I've been enjoying those thus far. So, 4 issues in. I think this is a mini series, so I'm interested to see what happens next.
This Phantom Zone seems pretty leaky. It was just a few months ago everybody just escaped from the Phantom Zone, and the whole super family had to stick them back in there.
Yeah. I don't know if the Phantom Zone's as good as they had once thought. I just think it's so stupid. Like, I like it on paper, that seems like a really clever idea. Hey, we're gonna put all the bad guys that we catch and we can't just throw, send to jail over in the Phantom Zone, and that the Watchtower could utilize that. But to have it so like people are somehow like able to manipulate the Watchtower from inside the Phantom Zone, like I don't know how that works. I know I get it's Cyborg Superman, like he maybe went in the circuitry or something. I don't know, right? Like it's interesting though, to say the least. I'll give this 3.75 out of 5. Good stuff. Next up, I got Batman Superman World's Finest number 36. Basically, this is the Aquaman story. Essentially, it started out as that. And the Floronic Man showed up at the end of the last one, and as one of the villains that's messing up the waters. And then same thing, kind of similar to the question book, you find out how the Floronic Man has been messing with Aquaman's, kingdom here, his domain, by doing stuff to the water. And again, it was a very, I thought, well executed and thought out kind of plan for the Floronic Man to actually pull off the way that Wade described it in here. And this new artist, I always keep forgetting his name, that's taken Gutierrez, who's taken over for Dan Mora on this title. I really love his stuff too. I hope he does more things for DC. I think he's been looking great on this book. And again, he stepped into Dan Mora's shoes, which are big shoes to fill. And this has just actually been a very enjoyable arc. Each issue, I think, has gotten better. And I think for Aquaman being kind of involved and at the center of this one with in the Batman Superman World's Finest title, I thought this has been a really enjoyable story for him. Between this and his new ongoing series, there's been some decent Aquaman stuff going on at DC right now too. So I quite liked this. And then Swamp Thing showed up in this. Of course, Batman put out a call to Swamp Thing when he heard that the Floronic Man was at the bottom of, was at the root of all this shit that's been going on in this story. And no complaints here. 4 out of 5 this week for me. I'm having a lot of fun with this one. And the best thing about World's Finest is, we'll be here for a couple of issues and then they're going to bounce over to a next story probably. But I think for what it's worth, this has been a really good one, and one that people should check out if you had dropped the title previously. So So 4 out of 5 for me this week.
Nice.
Then Batman Robin Year One, number 5. We got the Bruno Redondo cover here. Again, you know, don't have too much else to add to this series that I haven't said previously. Great Chris Somney art, decent Batman story, nothing to write home about though. I mean, at the start of this, there's like a little, back and forth because he put him in school last issue, and already going there for like the one day, basically, almost got kicked out, and Bruce has to interfere now, being the rich Bruce Wayne that he is, to kind of convince them to keep him in school because he caused too much trouble his first day in. And he uses like waning somebody as like a like he's like, now I'm gonna have to go all Wayne on them. I'm gonna have to go Wayne my way back in or something. And then it was a funny joke actually. And then like what's his name? Alfred is driving the car and he's like, did you just use Wayne as a word to describe something? He's like, yeah, that's right. I kind of dug that. But I do like the whole dynamic between him. They're treating him like a kid in this, and obviously we've been taught not to treat him as a kid during this period, even though he is. They try to make normalcy of the fact that he's fighting crime with Batman, but they're not shying away from that in this, and they kind of make observations about that fact throughout, and that's kind of I guess the angle you can say about Mark Waid's Batman and Robin Year One story so far is him, trying to get him to not get him into the life of crime fighting as fast as everyone has expected or got used to the fact that he had in the comics, right? And Two-Face is in this issue, so yeah, good stuff. I give this a 3.75 out of 5. I don't mind this series, but I just think with this team, Waid and Somni, who have done other great books, their Daredevil run being one of the best Daredevil runs in more recent years. I think I was expecting a lot more from this story, but it's not bad. Okay. G.I. Joe number 4, Chris. I got this Derek Chew cover. These thick
I think
thigh.
that's the one I ordered as well. Hopefully, I'll get these ones here. Teasing me with a lot of these nice covers.
I
But
mean,
for the story here, man alive, again, these Joes get their asses kicked again. The saving grace is the end of the story. But anyways, what goes on in here, I guess they're trying to save that Monev guy, and they got the Crimson Twins. They capture, or they're fighting them all. Then I guess Duke ends up surrendering. There's another team that gets freaking knocked out of commission, so they're all captured, and they're sent back to I guess the Mars facility. And there's some story going on, I guess, with at the Cobra base, that Destro and Cobra aren't getting along so well. Because Cobra's got his own plans, and he evacuates his own base to get back to the Mars base. And they have all the Joes there, I guess, as prisoners. And I think they're about to test something. And then the only good thing at the end is like Duke is there. Don't worry, guys. Trust me. I got him right where I want him. And like, I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm looking forward to see what he does.
yeah, no, I was gonna say the same thing, that these guys just continuously been getting their asses kicked in this one. I don't know what kind of GI Joe book this is, but I actually said a couple issues ago I thought it was interesting that they didn't win the day in that issue, but now it's just becoming a repeat thing. So I'm like, come on, you guys gotta get some wins in here. You're GI Joe, for fuck's sake. I don't know.
The person thing, oh, you guys got pinched too? So yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy what's going on here, but I mean, it's been a good showcase for the bad guys. I'll say that much, right? Like you're really seeing them, execute some pretty crazy stuff here so far in this title. So, I think it's building up the bad guys in a good way, at least. But otherwise, I'm getting into the story more and more now. I feel like it started off pretty slow, this book. I feel like I want to see where we're at after the first arc, because
Yeah.
it really will determine whether or not I continue to pick this up in issues, honestly, just because I think I'm starting to learn the characters more. I'm starting to get more into the kind of like the ongoing story of what's happening with all these guys in the world right now, the Energon, how that plays into everything. So you just know a crossover is coming up, so it's going to happen eventually, right? So
Yeah.
what'd you give this?
Yeah, I like this. I give it a 4 all day.
I go 3.75 out of 5 on this one. Next up, we got Catwoman number 73. Got the Dan Panosian cover.
I hope I get that one too.
Yeah,
Killing me.
great cover. One of the rare times I actually read Catwoman because I picked up the issue. But go ahead, Chris. Why don't you let us know
Yeah,
what
you
you
picked
thought?
the winner. You picked the winner to read here. What do they do with Catwoman? Oh, this. Okay, let's just say I'll try to be nice here. I'm not a fan of the art style I was in there. I'm not a fan of the story that's going on. Well, they got like I guess they're delving into Catwoman's history again. Like, freaking come on, give her a real story here. Have her fight somebody. It's like the same problem with the Zatanna. Even it seems to be all the same problem in all the female-led stories except Wonder Woman that they're going up against nobody in there, and it's all these kind of slice of life stories or something. It's just killing me.
Yeah, I agree on everything you said. I did not like this. I was when I first started it and it was the start of a new arc, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like I don't plan on picking up this title or reading it again, really, unless there's other good covers. But like I specifically got this because I like the Dan Panosian cover. I know Chris has talked about this book a bunch on the show. Torrin Grunbeck now is the new writer of this book, of course. And you may know our history with her as a writer on the show. That being said, I feel like, you had mentioned that she's been getting some better gigs lately and writing some more interesting things, right? I think she's been, I wouldn't say turning a corner, but she's been doing better maybe than her previous efforts. This issue wasn't that good though. No, I was excited when I was like, oh, first issue of a new arc, and then it gave me nothing to be really interested
Yeah.
in to stick around for that matter. So yeah, they spent half the issue doing nothing. I felt like
Half the time I already know it's Catwoman because she's always in some sort of costume. Is that supposed to be her or this other? What's that Evie character? Is that a Catwoman alias or something? Who knows?
yeah. So
Crap. 3.25, three even.
yeah, that's what I was gonna give it three out of 5. Yeah, not a great issue, but good cover, good pick, Dan Finoza cover. Happy about that. It's dawning on me now. Half my pull list that we've already made cuts on is just covers these days. It's not a good sign.
We
Wonder
got
Woman,
notifications coming up. There's more covers in there to get too.
Wonder Woman 18.
Well, if you didn't read Wonder Woman 1 to 17, I think this is all pretty much a recap of all those issues put together.
Yeah.
She does pretty much all the same things except now just in two panels as opposed to a 2 or 3 issue arc. First she faces the guns and bullets. Like, don't even know why they bother trying to shoot her. And then she runs into Sam Steele again. I like that little bit that was going on there. He thinks he's got the upper hand, and then she pulls out the ace out of her sleeve and go, "Hey, what do you think? You think I'm stupid? This has all been taken care of. I got Batman on the case there, and he's predicted all your moves, and
Yeah.
I'm walking forward. I like that stuff with Grail and the Sovereign. When Grail says, "Oh, it's time for me to fight." And like they had a big throwdown, so I was looking forward to that sort of confrontation. And then even the Sovereign's like, "Hey, you got to stay here and protect me." And she's like, "Well, the time for men is over. This is now whatever gods and princesses or I forget what she said, but it was a nice line there. And how she deals with Grail is she brings out what's her name, Chitara. It's not Chitara. It's Cheetah, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I wish they would have done with Cheetah, like she comes out to fight, Grail, and that's a heavy duty fight. She could have come out with something more than freaking 90s workout wear, like when she's got her spandex top on and her boots there. She's got some sort of a Goku power up before she went there. Come out with some armor. I think they missed an opportunity to give Cheetah some, just some heft there because with Wonder Woman and Grail, you had a battle tooth and nail. I feel that Cheetah and Grail wouldn't be such a great fight, but I guess Wonder Woman and Cheetah fight pretty much tooth and nail too, so I guess it does track. But I'm looking forward to the end of this, and I'm not so sure if I'm looking forward to what the new stories are going to be, but we'll see. But I did like the issue.
Yeah, it
The
wasn't
art
bad.
is freaking great. Tank. Like this is the one good Wonder Woman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. There was some good moments in this issue. And I thought for whatever reason going into it though, I thought this was the last issue of the story, but I think it's next issue, right? Is the next one. Okay. I thought this was it. But anyways, other than that, like I remember getting to almost the end of this issue. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? I thought this was the end of the story, right? And then I got to the end and they kind of showed her like, going to finally into the White House there with the sovereign there. I was like, okay, the next issue it looks like it's go time, essentially the final
Yeah.
showdown here. Yeah, there's some good stuff in here, like you said, the art's great still, but yeah, I am looking forward to the end of this, just because despite it being a good story, it has been very drawn out along these,
Yeah. 18 issues. It should have been done in like 7 or 8 tops.
yeah. So, but yeah, some good stuff nonetheless in here. It's still a worthwhile book to check out. If you hadn't jumped in on issues, I would suggest maybe just picking up the collections. I guarantee you it'll read better in a collection than it has for us reading it month to month, honestly, just because I feel like you get like feels like a lot of the same stuff happening because it's so condensed, right? The storytelling, but otherwise, good stuff. What'd you give this?
Nah, so you give it a 4. I did like this.
I'll go 3.75 out of 5 this week. Next up, we're in the X-Men block here. I think I got a couple here I read here this week. Mystique #5. This is the last issue of this mini series that Declan Shalvey wrote and drew. I gotta say, it ended quite good. This was one of those ones where I think I dropped it at issue 3. I didn't pick up the rest, but now I'm like reconsidering whether or not I'm going to pick up the collection, because I'm like, you know what, this actually ended very well. I like Declan Shalvey's art. I haven't really thought much of his writing. I've continued to read things that he writes just because I feel like, a lot of the times he'll be writing and drawing his own stuff, and I like his stuff, his art. But this is one of those situations where with Nick Fury Jr., that's been like a central character in this storyline. It was revealed to him in this issue that Mystique pulled a fast one of sorts on him. And what we thought, even as readers, that we were witnessing, this is that whole reveal, like the Ocean's 11 type move where they're like, oh, actually, this is really what went down type of deal, like in this
Yeah.
heist. And so we as readers and viewers the whole time, he told us like systematically, like what she actually was doing at each part of the story and how she tricked Nick Fury Jr. along the way. And it doesn't end well for her. She's left in like some sort of like a weird disfigured state here. Like she gets her wife back, Destiny. She's back with her at the end of this, but she's left like something happened to her, and she's looking a little more worse for wear now. I'll bring up the art. I think it's like on the last page here, but I won't get into the specifics of how she tricked Nick Fury Jr., but it was well told, I think, and the way it unfolded and the way he explained it and how she kind of got one up on him along the way. I thought as a 5-issue miniseries, he stuck the landing in that regard. So I was like, you know what, that was pretty good. I kind of left somewhere in the middle. He kind of like lost me somewhere in this. That's why I think I had dropped it. But by the end, I think he stuck the landing. I think it's a pretty enjoyable story. If you like Mystique as a character or you like Declan Shalvey's art, I think it's worth checking out just for that reason, honestly. But I think he made good use of the character's powers. Let's say that. And here at the end, something happened to her, and she looks pretty weird and messed up here at the end. So
Well,
yeah, her skin's all messed up. I don't know if she's going to be able to make use of her power. I don't know what's going on, but she's not looking great at the end of this. So I guess we'll find out more about that in other X-Men books, I guess. So yeah, as a miniseries, I thought this was good. I'll give this a 3.75 for this series, for this issue and the series. I think it wasn't bad. And I think that's a lot more. That's actually a good thing to say, because there hasn't been a lot of great, like you said, female centric miniseries coming out, especially of the X-Men stuff. But that being said, the best book out of those that has come around has been Storm #5, which, Chris, I think you said you didn't end up reading this week, or
no, I didn't get a chance. I forgot about this one.
this is the worst issue of the series so far. You would not like this at all. So you know what? Maybe just come back and read #6, Chris, when it comes out. A little bit of a misstep. This was an issue where this is definitely one, like, how like she died at the end of the last issue. It looks like she had died. This is one of those weird heady mystical type of stories. And I know you don't really like that, but the more cerebral type stories where she like,
Yeah.
they're talking about like she's like in a like they talk about some of like the gods, like the Marvel god type characters in this, Eternity's in this, and she kind of gets transported off to like another time and place. It looks like she's been given powers, or another god entity went inside of Storm. By the end of this issue, I don't really even know like where we're at, honestly. It's just such a bizarre issue. It felt like, I will say, every issue, even though there's been a through line in this series, has kind of stood on its own as well as an interesting story. So I'm hoping that with the next issue, we just move on with the story that we've been telling so far. But I don't know where we're going to go now with her, give me the powers that she's been given temporarily in this, because it looks like a god inhabited her body, and what that's going to mean against, she does go up against Doom here in this, but like moving forward, like at the end, she seems like she's like crying, and she seems like all like messed up, like whatever experiences that she's been going through this first 5 issues. But if you like these god characters like I do, it was cool seeing Eternity and the Living Tribunal and all these other people, Oblivion. But like, I'm just like, I don't know where this takes. Like, I don't think it was necessary in this series that whatever went on here, right? So I think this is them just trying to use this stuff as an interesting tie-in of sorts to the One World Under Doom. But I'm just like, you know what? Don't even bother with that stuff with this Storm series, because it's so much better than that, honestly, this series. So like, I'm ready to move on. Hopefully it doesn't. I don't know. Do you know if this is going to be a tie-in for many issues, or?
I have no idea.
Okay. So anyways, not enough to kind of like make me say I'm not reading this book anymore. It was just a bit of a misstep. That's how I'll phrase this one on this issue. But and that's why I said it was probably my least favorite issue out of the bunch. That being said, I'll still give it a 3.25 out of 5 because the art's amazing. I've been really digging this book, and even though I may not be 100% clear as to what happened by the end of this, it was just really interesting to see unfold, and with this fantastic artwork, honestly. So yeah, you got hippos at the end. There you go. The hippos find her, Storm, just like discarded somewhere. I think she's lost the power now, or whatever that she had in this issue. So she's alive, though. She's not dead. She's not going to be in like some mystical universe or something for long. So that's good. Anyways, okay, Chris. Uncanny X-Men number 10.
Speaking of people that are dead that aren't dead anymore, I think the last issue teased us with the death of, I don't know, the Raven type character, I guess. Yeah, this still isn't for me. I guess they're trying to. I don't even know what they're trying to do here. Trying to, pump up these outliers or whatever they have, and it's just not working. And I've read some solicitation, or no, yeah, I think it was for this here, and it's not looking like it's getting any better. And everybody's speaking in accents. Whatever, you got Kurt there, Kurt speaking German, and just whatever's going on. I pass. I'll read it, but I'm not liking this one bit.
I've dropped this. I think this might be my last issue. I thought the last one was, but sometimes they double ship in a month and you get stuck with a couple. But yeah, this is terrible. I have nothing. I'm just so not interested in the story and the direction that this book went. It had some interesting things going for it now, but now I feel like the focus is just on these new younger mutants as part of the team. The team that they established at the start, which was made up of a lot of my favorite X-Men, is not even really that present anymore. And I don't really enjoy the stories that are being told here. Like, I'm not hating on the whole new mutant aspect of this thing, but I just think that this series has had a problem with identifying what type of book that it wants to be, and it's been all over the place. And like the artist on this issue. So yeah, I'm out. I mean, I'm out. I don't know if I'm even gonna read it digitally, quite honestly. Honestly, with you, I don't know. We'll see. I know we're gonna be going into an event that I'll probably be dragged into reading digitally for
Yeah,
at least for that one issue, but I'm not unhappy that I dropped this. So what'd you give this?
yeah, that's another 3 at least.
Yeah. Yeah. 3. You know what's funny? I actually just noticed the artist on this too. I really like this artist. He did not look good on this issue. This Andre Bresson. That's the guy who did that. He did one of those G.I. Joe miniseries, and he's done a lot of stuff with Joshua Williamson. I actually like his stuff. I didn't think this was his best work here. But it's also because you have to draw like 20 different characters on a page in these books, right? So like, that's going to wear down an artist who's drawing an indie book where he only has to draw like, certain things, right? That's a lot, man. So Yeah, three out of 5. X Factor number 7.
Well, here's a comic that I've been enjoying lately, and I think it's still rolling along. It's fun stuff. It doesn't take itself too seriously. They still got that. Once they put that power dog there, every time they got that guy there, he's chewing back those corn dogs. And I can't hate that. You know, this one here almost seems to be a bit similar to the X-Men, where they kind of break off into teams. I think that grandma there, she's with somebody, and that grandma, that's another character that's like I don't think she needs a mini series or anything, but I think she's a bright light in this series.
Yeah.
And what's his name comes back, Angel. He doesn't seem to be quite the Warren Worthington that I remember, but I'll take him for what he is. That they have him here, and that's just some good stuff. From what I hear, this book might be on the block too, like
I heard.
series wise. But I think that was based more on the solicitation, not that because I
Right.
think the other ones,
Or
like they're
confirmed.
not even in the May solicitations.
Right.
It's still in there, so I think there's a chance.
Uh, I read the same thing you're talking about, where they're like, this may be also part of the cancellations, but we're not positive. I honestly don't feel like this series is that long for this world anyways. Like if we got like 12 issues of this, I'd be happy. But
Yeah.
like I hope that's not the case, because like you said, I think it's one of the few like bright lights out of the X-Men stuff. And like you said, there's some fun breakout characters. The introduction of that, and like there's such like stealth humor that he incorporates into this book that I really appreciate. Like you said, he hasn't even referenced the corn dog thing in like 3 issues, but he always is like chewing on one and like using it as a pointer and stuff like that, and it's just hilarious. And then the way that he can introduce like no name random characters just for the sake of a joke in this series is
Yeah.
fun too. There's a new character that he introduced in this issue called Forget Me Not, and he keeps showing up, and people are like, "Who are you again?"
Well, I think that's an old character, that Forget Me Not. I think I remember reading about him in the worst mutant powers, and
Oh,
he's
is he?
part of all these big stories, but
Oh,
everybody just forgets about him, and
oh,
that's
so
why nobody remembers him.
I had no idea if that's the case. Yeah, see, even I don't know that. I'm like he is an X-Men character that people just don't really like.
Yeah, he was supposedly out in the past there, somewhere in the old X-Men lore.
Okay. There's a lot of
And,
mutants. There's a lot of mutants out
yeah,
there that they've made over the years, because they always have to like create new ones, right? So yeah, maybe that's why he used him in this to make that joke, right? Because it was hilarious. I thought it happened like 3 times in this issue where people are just like, who's this guy?
yeah. Like, then they feel something, and he flies away in the plane, and the guy's like, "Oh, I don't know who that was. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know. Maybe we're enjoying this more than we should, but I've been liking this one here."
Same here. No, I dig it, man. Yeah. Listen, a lot of the missions are just like some corporate ass missions where like, they're trying to take down like an evil corporation, which, I get it. It's very true, I guess, to today, like what's going
Yeah.
on with stuff. But like it's basically them just fighting like billionaires and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, which is, it's just funny the jokes that they fucking like they put in there as a result. But yeah, that granny woman, yeah, you're right. She's awesome. Like there was that guy, he didn't want to use his powers in this because he feels like he uses them too much, he's gonna die. And she was just like, let me take this one on. Then she just kills herself. Oh man, good stuff.
Yeah.
What'd you give this?
We give it a 3.75.
Same. Yeah, good series though. I do like it. All right, and finally, Amazing Spider-Man number 68 this week.
Great cover, I'll say that. I can stop there if you like.
I know. It's not
What
much.
a pile of crap.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now he cares. He didn't think anything like this would blow up in his face. That when he shirks his responsibility, like
Right. Right.
that's his whole thing here.
Chris, it's so bad. He literally forgot about Uncle Ben. Like what? Like that is what the character is. And he's like, oh my God, they're dead. It's just like, yes,
Like, what did you think was going to happen?
you know this, man. This is the whole basis of your character. Why you do this? Like, talk about not like this writer, like not knowing, like that is literally the character, and you made this guy like turn his back on the people, and
Yeah,
then he died in this. Of course, that's what was gonna happen. Like, have you learned nothing?
and then they kill him here, And like, if you're gonna kill Spider-Man, at least make it freaking an epic death. Like if you're trying to tease that this is some sort of, death of Spider-Man, it's gonna be fucking baloney when his neck just gets snapped by some unknown villain in one panel. It's like, and that's it. He's dead. It's like, oh, it's crazy. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, this is a dark period of Spider-Man right now, guys. I cannot wait for them to relaunch this book, and let's hope it's good because this has been this stretch of whatever
I
10,
hope this Joe Kelly's got some better ideas.
this stretch of like 10, 12 issues that we got with the stupid point whatevers that they've been doing
Yeah,
has been one of the worst periods of Spider-Man that I feel like we've had the displeasure of reading on this show, honestly. On this show at least, I'll say that. But
for
yeah,
sure.
this is yeah, not a great time. Like I feel like we haven't shit on the book this much since the what do you call it when there was like 5 different people writing it, whatever that was called, that
Yeah, the Beyond era.
Beyond era. Yeah, I remember there
Yeah,
was
pretty much where he lost his powers. That wasn't a great run either. It was nothing. It was fun when he got back,
yes.
but
Yeah.
but that was like maybe 2 or 3 issues. This is
Well,
like 8 of them here.
no, there was some decent stuff in the Beyond era
Yeah,
there, but every couple of issues we get a stinker.
yeah. You get a stinker.
Yeah.
But this is
This
like
is
two,
yeah,
three stinkers in a row now,
yeah,
and
this is
not just like real stinkers.
yeah. What'd you give this then? Speaking of stinkers.
I don't know, 2.75. I don't
Yep.
know.
I'm
Fucking
okay
what,
with
what,
that. Yeah, 2.75 out of 5. Absolutely.
but
All
I don't know.
right.
You want to talk about some of the news
Oh
that
yeah.
came out of the Comics Pro?
My apologies. I'll bring that up actually in the news. Yeah, so Comics Pro just happened this last week, which is I guess the retailer publisher kind of like convention where they announce new and upcoming things and they talk to the retailers. That's what it is, right? It's the retailer
Yeah,
summit essentially. Yeah. But always out of these retailer summits when they wanted to hear from the retailers, the companies like Marvel and stuff like that, they also will use this as a way to announce new and upcoming things to give awareness to the shops to kind of like be like, hey, this is going to
yeah.
be
Just something to look forward to.
yeah, exactly. So a couple of interesting things that were brought up. Do you want to go ahead, Chris, and mention them? Or
Well, I don't know. What do you think was the biggest story?
I think Marvel and DC crossover that's going to be happening. So that's huge news because
Well, that's
people
pretty much 2 1-shots, right? It's a Marvel DC and a DC Marvel.
That's right. So if anybody remembers the 90s when these companies were all not doing that well after the boom, the comic books bust essentially of the 90s there, they used a way to kind of leverage their both their characters to make a Marvel and DC crossover. And they used to do this back in the day every so often too. They used to have those treasury size editions like
Yeah,
Hulk versus Batman and like Spider-Man versus Superman or whatever. They would do things like that and they would kind of do this time to time. But in the 90s, they did an event called Marvel versus DC, which at the time, like obviously it was a big cash grab because the characters, I've reread this years ago. And I remember reading it as a kid at the time when that came out in the 90s. But it was like, at the time, it was like, of course, I bought into that because you've never seen these characters like fight each other and stuff like that. But it was such a cheesy cash grab because at the end of the day, neither character could win the fight because they didn't want to look weak at the end of the day. Like it was just like, like one would win over another one, but it would just be some stupid reason why they won. And it wasn't
yeah,
like they beat the crap out of one another to the extent that you were hoping, right? But they did that, and then they did like the amalgam universe stuff, which they took like a bunch of the characters and they combined them into new characters and shit. So like a bunch of 90 gimmicky type stuff. But since then, like the company hasn't really worked together like in that same sense, like with the crossovers, right? So for some people out there, this might be the first time they'll ever have experienced something like this if you hadn't read any of those things back in the day. So it's a pretty big deal because the leaders in charge of these companies didn't want to do business with each other for a while in that. Like,
well, that's what I'm concerned about. Like, what do they know that we don't know? Like, the comics, because the comic industry is not much trouble that they got to put this thing together. But
I
who knows?
I think I heard last year in terms of at least book sales, like trade paperbacks, I think are actually at an all-time high, I think. But in terms of like the publishing around single issue comics, that's
Yeah.
probably not so hot.
From
Yeah.
what I
So
hear, like a number one issue now would be like a number 10 freaking 10 years ago or something.
right. Yeah. So I
But
mean,
other news there is they've announced a new team for Batman. I thought I'm not too familiar with the writer, but at least they got George Jimenez back in business, so that's something to look forward to. Looks like he's got a new costume. I hear there's a new Batmobile, so that's something nice to see.
Yeah, Matt Fraction was the writer that they announced, which is actually that's an interesting writer to write Batman. I'm not sure what he's going to bring to the table. And I mean that in a good way and a bad way, in a sense, where he hasn't written superhero comics in a while. This is like, Matt Fraction is actually the guy who wrote this Image book called Sex Criminals, and Chip Zdarsky was the artist of that book. And Chip Zdarsky went on from that book and all the popularity that he got from that book and started writing for Marvel and started writing for DC. And so those two are very good friends. So to see that he is now the writer after Zdarsky was the writer is kind of interesting too, in that sense. But Matt Fraction was like part of he was part of the same wave of like big writers that Marvel had back in the 2000s, like Rick Remender, Ed Brubaker, Jason Aaron, Hickman. Like they're all part of the same like years of writing for Marvel. And when I got really back into comics, Matt Fraction stuff, though, compared to all those other writers I just mentioned, I only liked maybe about half the stuff that he had done when he was working with Marvel. So but he also hasn't really written big two comics in a while. So I don't like, he went off and did the Image stuff, and he's been working in Hollywood, like working on shows and stuff like that. So I don't know what he's going to bring to the table, but that's actually also interesting in a way, Chris, because I'm actually excited because I'm like, I don't know what this writer is going to do with this character. So it might actually be a good voice for him. I don't know. And like, I would think the only way he would come back and write this is if he had a really good idea for
if he had a story to write.
Right. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. And Jorge, like you said, he's still the artist. He kicks ass. So I'm actually very intrigued by this announcement, to say the least. I guess we'll see what pans out there. But speaking of Chip, why don't you announce that?
Happy to hear our buddy landed on his feet again. Chip Zdarsky doing I think with Valerie Shedetto or whatever his last name is.
Sheety. Valerio Sheety.
I think that's the artist you didn't enjoy from what's that guy?
He did Gods with Hickman.
Wasn't he the artist that was just on who's that, the Mark Miller guy?
No, that's not him. No, that's not him.
I thought that was him in the second run.
No, he did. He was the artist on Gods, that most recently that I recall. He did that Gods series with Hickman. But yeah,
well, he's doing Captain America, and I hope he's got some stories to write. The solicitation where his path doesn't seem to be all that great. But I've been listening to some other things. Other people might have their ideas what he might be doing. So who knows? It could be some good stuff. He did write that Twilight, which was a good sort of Avengers Captain America type story. So he does have it in him.
I'm just excited to see him doing Marvel stuff, because I know there's a rumor going around that he was done after Avengers Twilight, and that was it for him at Marvel. So the fact that he's going to be writing a Captain America book, I'll be picking it up. I mean, I haven't picked up Captain America in issues, and I feel like forever. So I'm really looking forward to checking his take out on the character. And I think, I have high hopes for it, honestly. I mean, like, we're big fans of Chip here, and it's interesting that they have first off, a Canadian writing a Captain America book, right? But that being said, I've liked all his Marvel work, honestly. So I'm actually very excited for this title as well. The fact that he's writing it. So
I think they released another event there by Jonathan Hickman, Empire, something to do with Nova. So it looks like that's some summer event.
Okay.
And what else was out there? Their cuts. I guess we kind of touched on this earlier. I think NYX might be over. I heard Power Girl might be over.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's another mutant, or X Factor may be over. I'm hoping that's not true.
Shazam's over.
Yeah, Shazam's over. There's another X-Men book that's out too.
NYX and X-Force.
X-Force, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't see that one coming, but
it's funny because when you mentioned that, and I remember seeing the post about this, there was somebody, of course, it's the internet. There's somebody in the comments of this post where they're like, "Of course, X-Force is canceled. This fucking Jeffrey Thor had no fucking ideas for this." The guy's like just shitting on the writer. I'm just like, geez, man. I'm so happy I'm not in, like, I know we put ourselves out on the internet like this, but I'm so happy, like, we don't actually like have any creative endeavors other than doing this, like, in the sense that people will just rally.
I feel bad railing these people too, but I'm hoping they're not even hearing us, so it doesn't matter.
No, it's just like I just would not be able to help myself but looking at the comments if I was these people.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
and
I
they're
think it's
brutal.
yeah, it's tough. Sometimes people are just like, yeah, just there. I mean, like, listen, X Force didn't really interest me enough to continue with it, but I wouldn't. I don't feel that strongly about it to go on a tirade, right?
Yeah.
But other things, though, maybe. Right? So,
Well, we talked about those giant size X-Men. I think there's 5 one-shots coming up soon.
yes.
I'm not looking forward to those either, though. Those don't sound very interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh, but
some good and
some
some
good
bad
stuff.
news. Yeah, some good and some bad news that came out of the companies. But yeah, honestly, like, yeah, I think Zdarsky and Cap and Matt Fraction on Batman and even the crossover stuff. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
down
I
for
think
that.
those are the 3 big ones that I felt
Same.
the big
Yeah.
stories. I'm looking forward to the crossovers and looking forward to the future to see who's going to write them. That'll make the difference as to
Yes.
whether these are going to be blockbusters or
Yeah.
just whatever.
So first off, two things for these to be successful, or listen, it's a cash grab, of course, but I'm down. Like, take my money
Yeah,
here, shut up, take my money type of cash grab. Yeah, go for it. Like that meme of Fry from Futurama. But it's two things. One, you need a absolute superstar artist to draw these, right? And
yeah,
two, preferably, I would like a writer that has written for both companies to be the writer of these
yeah.
crossovers. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe that's asking a little bit too much, but I feel like if you have somebody that's written for both of these companies that's going to be writing these crossovers, I think it will help in the sense that they'll have somewhat of a voice maybe of these characters that they've written across the board, right? I really have a bad feeling about this in the sense that I feel like he's been on a lot of books lately, and the go-to answer for this, honestly, would be Wade. Honestly, it would be in that.
But I'm not like I would hope it's a good writer, but who you hoping the artist would be for DC? Let's say
Mora,
there's only 2 choices really.
Mora,
It's
Mora.
Mora or uh, George Jimenez.
Mora. Yeah, especially now that they've announced him on Batman. Honestly, that's the ease that's an sorry. So honestly, if the DC one, the DC like let's say DC book that they put out for DC versus Marvel crossover,
Yeah,
honestly, I feel it has to be Wade and Mora, at least for now. Like it makes
I
more
want I
sense.
want it to be Wade there because I know there's Josh Williamson, Jason Aaron, and stuff like that, but they've already just came from Marvel. Like I don't want to see them see
Yeah.
that. Like, I haven't heard too much of Mark Wade in Marvel, so it'd be nice to see him kind of see what his voice is for some of the Marvel characters that show up in the
And
in the
and
crossover.
he's written for Marvel. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
He has done Marvel before. Like his more recent, I know you kind of were mentioning the fact that you're seeing this guy on all the DC titles lately, and you kind of maybe were, you felt like it was a little bit much that he's like on all these books at times, right? But I think in terms of like if you want somebody that knows the history like he does, like you need a writer like that.
yeah, that can kind of put up a good story. Like
Yeah.
it's good one shot.
I think for
And who would you see on
Marvel,
the Marvel side though? I think the writer have to be Hickman.
no, Hickman hasn't written for DC though. I mean, not that it matters, but yes, Hickman in terms of or I could also see them giving this to Jason Aaron. He's worked for both companies now. I mean, Jason Aaron is a big
Yeah,
name.
but he's not sort of. You want a Marvel exclusive artist
I
or a
hope
writer.
I hope it's not Snyder, to be honest with you. I hope Snyder doesn't get one of these gigs. He's a name I've been seeing people float around.
Yeah,
I don't want him writing this, to be honest with you. I don't
no,
want him writing a crossover.
you want
So
a good writer.
no, Hickman is probably the answer, though. I think you're right.
And then
Artist,
who would be drawing on the Marvel side?
you want me to let you down right now and tell you a name?
No way, not Jr.
Honestly,
No way, zero chance. He can do a varied cover.
I mean, he has roots in Marvel, man. He does. He does. I mean,
No
he's
way.
JR. I mean, he even had a short stint at DC like 10 years ago for like a year or two. I'm just saying it's
No,
I
it's a Pepe Larraz or Greg Capullo, somebody.
Pepe Larraz. Yes. That I'm game for. Yeah. And he is free at the moment, I think, right? No, he's drawing that
Well, he's gonna be doing Spider-Man, isn't he?
yeah. Yeah, I guess
Or Marco Cicchetto. He'd be good too.
he'd be
I'd
good.
take him.
He'd be good. Yeah, cuz you got to think of like people that are like honestly, that's why I said Ramito almost like representative of the style of like Marvel, the look of these
Yeah,
characters.
I don't want JR to be a freaking representative of the Marvel style.
I agree, but they might give it to him. I'm just saying
He might be busy with Mark Miller doing Kick-Ass 4 or something, I hope.
Yeah. So those are predictions. I mean, I think those are pretty good ones. I honestly though, like if it's not Wade Mora, I'll be surprised for the DC book. I
Yeah.
will, because I think that's the go-to for this right now. Even like again, we're not even thinking about like all time. Like I hope they just don't dig up some writer from like 50 years ago or something like
Yeah,
that.
this should be like freaking a showcase of your top talent. Not it shouldn't be a showcase for some up and coming artist or
No.
who you think your next new rising star is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I think that's the answer. So, but we'll see. I don't know. I will be, it'll be exciting. We'll definitely talk about it and announce that news when it gets leaked here on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
It's worthwhile, but it's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Chris,
Okay.
what are you reading next week?
So like I said, we got Ultimate Spider-Man 14, Amazing Spider-Man 68 deaths. Is that near the end of this thing or what?
Yes.
X-Men 12. Even though like I thought that was who's that artist? I think this artist here is doing a freaking awesome Alpha Flight. What's his name here?
Oh, the Ryan Stegman like artist.
Yeah, it's with Nito Diaz.
Yeah, Nitho Diaz. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the way he's drawing Alpha Flight. But yeah, looking forward to that. Let's see. I'll probably read Fantastic Four 29. Got the Wolverine Red Band number 5. That's going to be over. Let's see. West Coast Avengers, Hellhunters 3. Been liking that. Rogue Savage Land 2. Let's see. There's a couple other ones I might take a peek at, but that's pretty much it for Marvel. DC, I'll probably take a look at Detective, Absolute Wonder Woman 5, Superman 23, Justice League Unlimited 4. I'll try and get a hold of Green Lantern if I can. Black Canary, Best of the Best.
Mm-hmm.
Guess now the Power Girl's ending, maybe I'll kind of keep a closer eye on that, but that's been garbage, so who cares? And that's it for DC. Let's see what Image got. Oh, Deviant 9. That's kind of fell to the wayside there. Hyde Street, Scorched. I've been reading actually the G.I. Joe Real American Hero. That has been pretty good the last few issues.
Mm-hmm.
The seasons. Were we reading the seasons? Oh yeah, that's the one with where they're on that island or something and everybody dropped off.
That's the Rick Remender book. That's the one with that girl.
Seasons 2's coming out, so yeah, I'll probably give that a read too.
Yeah.
That's about it for me. What do you got?
Absolute Wonder Woman number 5, Amazing Spider-Man 68 Point Deaths, Black Hammer Spiral City 4, Detective Comics 1094, Harley Quinn 48, Justice League Unlimited 4, Rogue the Savage Land number 2. I got 3 covers for that one. Seasons 2, Ninja Turtles 7, Ultimate Spider-Man 14, which is always great, and X-Men 12. And then that stuff I'm picking up. And like you said, there's some digital stuff I'll be reading. The End of Magic Order number 5, number 5 comes out next week, as well as Nightclub 2 number 6, the last issue of that.
Yeah, I didn't look at the Dark Horse.
Yeah, that'll be coming out. Looks like Batman Long Halloween comes out. I might read that. Superman. And then let me see Image if there's anything else. I don't think so. No, I don't read Scorch. So yeah, no, I think that's it from Image, just seasons. Marvel, like you said, FF, I'll definitely read. Oh, there's also the Captain America team up book. It teams up with Volstagg from Thor next issue. Might check that out. The first one was fun with Rocket Raccoon. Hell Hunters for sure, number 3. I don't think I'm gonna read it. Red Hulk 1 comes out next week. I don't know about that one.
I've been hearing better things about this Captain America Brave New World.
I watched it.
Okay, well, I guess we didn't have much to say about it.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, the Red Hulk was cool when he finally showed up in it. I'll say that, but he wasn't on the screen as long as I.
Come on, how can they do that?
Yep, That's my
They
month.
did.
That's one of my biggest gripes. So we'll leave it
Yeah.
at that. We'll leave it at that. I don't
The
want to spoil.
Spider Woman appearance, kind of like Madam Web. Red Hulk came out. He was dreaming that he turned into the Hulk. Don't tell me he was dreaming that he turned into the Hulk.
No. He turned into the Hulk. Yeah, he did.
Okay,
But it's just like
exactly there.
I just think I just wish they utilized him more. Let's just
Yeah.
say that. I'll just say that,
Well,
right?
especially since it's such a big part of the promo.
They're using it to sell it based on that fact. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was barely in it as Red Hulk. They got their Harrison Ford money's worth, I'll say that, but as
Yeah.
Red Hulk, not so much. Maybe their CGI budget wasn't that big on this one. I don't know. And then West Coast Avengers #4 for sure. So yeah, that's about it for next week. So some good stuff. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I did want to say one more thing about. I don't know if this is news that came out of the Comic Pro, but they have that Ultimate Incursions. I've been hearing something about what's happening in that.
The crossover.
Miles Morales, he's coming. He's coming to the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah.
I guess the maker, when this all first started, he did seek out Miles Morales and say, "Hey,
Yep.
your world is still there if you want to come to it." And I guess he said no, but somehow he's going to end up in there. So that should be interesting. And then, I think the solicitation, whatever, it's on League of Comic Geeks, and sort of have all the characters that are in there. I'm like, I don't know if they're all part of the same story, but it's everybody's in it. So I'm kind of getting excited for that one a bit too.
I am, but I'm also like,
I'm worried.
Yes, because this is the first crossover between the Ultimate books that we've had so far.
Yeah.
So,
just because Spider-Man has been so good, it doesn't need anything like this.
Right. But at least they're using Miles in this one, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like you said, I'm half worried, half excited. I'll say that. Like, I am excited for it, but I'm also like, we knew it was going to come to this when all the books intersected because of the way that Ultimates has been building up against the Maker. But you're right. There's so many good things happening in the books individually. I really don't need this.
Yeah, they don't need this now. They can save this, put this on the shelf for a while.
So, but we'll see. I'll be checking it out. Believe me, I will. But it's just like, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. So we'll see. I hope it's good. I hope it's. I know the writer of Ultimates is co-writing it with somebody, right? So so hopefully it's good. I mean, he has an idea of what's going on in that sense of the Ultimates or book right now. So, all right. Favorite book of the week, Chris?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think G.I. Joe's in the running. I really like that. I'd even put Wonder Woman in the running because it wasn't a very strong week of awesome comics. But like I said, I think I might have chosen this one every time it's come out. It has to be that. I really did like that Avengers, Alien versus Avengers, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Alien versus Avengers 3. Yeah. So this week, this was in the running for me. Ultimate Wolverine was in the running for me. Surprisingly, Doomstrike, the Thunderbolts one, was a big surprise.
Actually, that is in the running. That's what they did in there with them blowing up that city. You can't walk that one backwards.
Yeah, I quite
like. It's going to be a big event in the world there.
Like my line of thinking was, that was one of the earlier books I read. I read it. I was like, wow, this might be in the running this week. This might be my favorite thing I've read so far. And then I think it was Ultimate Wolverine ultimately was mine. And I got to tell you, as much as I did like Aliens versus Avengers, like I said during us talking about it, I said this may be my least favorite out of the 3 issues, despite me enjoying every single issue that's come out, because I'm just trying to compare for comparison's sakes, comparing it to everything. But then when we talked about it, I think it reinforced the fact that this was my favorite this week. So I'm going to go with you as well. I think I also pick this issue every time it's come out because
nice swerve. I put it up there. This is in the running. Yeah. Usually when you put stuff that's in the running, it doesn't mean it's the winner.
Yeah, no, it is. It's the winner. I can't deny. If it wasn't this, it would have been Ultimate Wolverine for me this week because I really liked that a lot as well, and or Doomstrike. Those were both very good. But after we talked about it, I was like, it was one of those things where you can't deny it. I'm like, yeah, it's this book again. I'm like, yeah, because we really got kind of worked up talking about it. Whenever we have a good conversation about it, then this happened and that happened. I'm like, yeah, this is the pick. I mean, who are we kidding here, right? So it would have been great if I just swerve or Amazing Spider-Man 60. Yeah, right. You would have left the show. You're like, I think I'm done with this.
I can't trust your opinions anymore, Nico. Sorry.
I know people watching would be like, unsubscribe. Anyways, okay, so that's gonna do it for this week, guys. Once again, make sure to check out our comic book solicitations video for May 2025, where we go over the new comic book solicitations from Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, all those companies that we read stuff from, and make sure to check that one out. It'll be its own separate video from now on. All right, guys, thanks. Later, Chris.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.